They skinned their enemies alive, they impaled thousands to send a message, and then built an empire on fear. In the ancient world, where cities rose and fell with the passaging of armies, one power loomed over the rest: the Assyrians. Their empire was not merely built on conquest, it was crafted through the calculated use of terror, propaganda, and military innovation. This is the story of the Assyrian War Machine, the most brutal and psychologically sophisticated force of its time. From the dusty plains of northern Mesopotamia, Assyria emerged as a relentless conqueror, dominating neighbors and siege and engines, iron weapons, and terrifying reputation. But behind the brutality was a highly organized military industrial complex and a masterful understanding of psychological warfare. In this documentary, we dive deep into how the Assyrians rose to power, how they maintained control through fear, and how they created a legacy that would echo in warfare for centuries to come. Please like, share, and subscribe to History in 5 minutes. And if you want to support the channel, please buy me a coffee in the link attached in the description. Thank you very much. The Assyrians hailed from a region along the upper Tigris River in modern-day Iraq. The core of their civilization was the city of Ashur, named for their chief god. From the 21st century before Christ, the small city grew into power and influence. Assyria was the first empire to field a professional standing army, year-round. This was a game-changer. At its peak, the Assyrian military was divided into infantry, equipped with iron swords, spears, and large shields, disciplined and trained. Cavalry, a revolutionary force they developed effective mounted archers and lances. Chariots, heavily armored and often used for shock tactics and breaking enemy lines. And engineers, specialized units for siege warfare, building ramps, digging tunnels, constructing towers. Each unit was backed by a logistics network that ensured supplies, weapons, and even replacements could reach distant campaigns. They pioneered combined arms warfare using chariots to scatter enemies, infantry to hold ground, and siege engineers to break walls. Warfare was not just about brute force, it was about coordination. Assyrian kings led in person. Their presence was symbolic and practical. The king was both commander-in-chief and divine figure. His victory meant the gods have spoken. What the Assyrians apart wasn't just their tactics, it was their calculated use of terror. Assyrian records boast of atrocities: enemies skinned alive, eyes gouged, tongues torn, men impaled on stakes lining roads. These were mindless acts of cruelty. They were intentional psychological warfare. Take Ashurnal II's inscriptions. I built a pillar at the city gate. I flayed all the chiefs who had revolted. I covered their pillar with their skin. The siege of Lachish under Sekhemib in 700 BC provides a chilling example. Released from Nivet depict Assyrian soldiers impaling prisoners, stripping captives, and parading the spoils of war. These visuals were not hidden. They were carved into palace walls and sent across the empires as warnings. Mass deportations were another tactics. Entire populations, sometimes over 100,000 people, were forcibly relocated to prevent rebellion and spread Assyrian culture. This strategy worked. Neighboring cities often surrendered without a fight. Why resist when you knew what was coming? Fear was weaponized long before the first arrow flew. Assyrians sent letters to enemy kings offering mercy if they surrendered, but destruction if they resisted. These letters were often accompanied by trophies of war, heads, skins, or prisoners. Public rituals of punishment and humiliation amplified the message. After victory, the defeated king might be shackled, paraded, or made to wear a dog's collar in Nineveh. But it wasn't just like physical terror. Assyrian art and literature were laced with inevitability. Assyrians presented themselves as agents of divine will. Resistance wasn't just foolish, it was blasphemy. Even the landscape became part of their message. Ruins of conquered cities, impaled bodies, and renamed provinces all served to show, you belong to Assyria now. In Assyria, war wasn't just about politics, it was divine duty. Their chief god, Ashur, demanded expansion. Kings were his earthly generals. Conquest was not ambition, it was obedience. Before campaigns, kings sought omens. Priests read the stars, interpreted dreams, and observed the entrails of sacrificed animals. A bad omen could delay or redirect a military operation. Victory proved the gods were pleased. Defeat required atonement. Religious imagery saturated warfare. Banners bore divine symbols, soldiers swore oaths to Ashur. King claimed their enemies had offended the gods, and punishment was divine justice. By blending faith and fear, the Assyrians created a sacralized war machine, one that crushed bodies and spirits. The Assyrian war machine influenced every empire that followed. The Babylonians and Persians adopted their military hierarchy and use of propaganda. Roman used similar tactics, public executions, engineering, and psychological warfare. Even modern military strategy echoes their methods: shock and awe, scorched earth, and media dominance. But brutality has a price. By the late 7th century before Christ, resentment has built across the empire. A coalition of Babylonian and Median forces destroyed Nineveh in 612 before Christ. The empire that ruled through fear was overthrown in an orgy of vengeance. When Nineveh fell, its places were looted, its libraries burned, and its walls torn down. Yet the Assyrians left behind a blueprint: how to build and break an entire empire through terror and strength. This was History in 5 Minutes. Thank you guys. Like, share, and subscribe.